Before I invite the legendary Mr. Shekhar Kapur on stage, I have to tell you this was most of the films that we brought to the Indian Film Festival Germany, well, all of the films that we brought to the Indian Film Festival Germany went through a selection process. There was a selection committee, the usual things that film festivals do. But this one was a purely emotional decision. I grew up watching this film, as did many of the people who all grew up watching this film. I mean, look at that, amazing. And it was, I just thought, okay, if I am working on this festival, I should have the right to at least choose one film that is purely vested in self-interest. And it was all about having the opportunity to see this beautiful film, the remastered version, on the big screen. So I'm so glad we got to do that. I just find that. And despite the technical faults earlier, we finally got it going, and we finally got to witness this absolute gem of a film on the big screen. Now, I know he doesn't need any introduction, but I still do have to do it, and maybe embarrass him a little bit whilst I do so. Mr. Shekhar Kapur is a celebrated filmmaker, actor, and storyteller whose work has redefined boundaries in Indian and global cinema. He first garnered acclaim with the iconic films Masoom, which was his debut, and Bandit Queen, the latter earning international recognition, multiple awards, including the National Film Award, and several others. He also achieved global success with the Academy Award-winning Elizabeth and its sequel, Elizabeth the Golden Age, which earned him BAFTA and Golden Globe nominations. Known for his masterful exploration of complex characters and human emotions, Mr. Kapur has been honored with the Padma Shri, one of India's highest civilian awards. Beyond cinema, he has made significant contributions to his digital storytelling and environmental advocacy, cementing his status as one of the most visionary and versatile creators of our time. Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Shekhar Kapur? Shekharji, thank you so much for giving us the honor of your presence here today and at this festival. It's such a privilege to have you here.
Thank you.
I've got a ton of questions to ask you, as does the audience, but I will request you to please address us first.
Well, I haven't seen this film for like half a century. Something like that. I'm not going to deny that. It's who was I at that time? I don't know. I don't know who made this film anymore, because memory is an unfaithful friend, and all your memories are prejudiced views of what you think of yourself today. That's not even true. Your thoughts of today are your prejudice, your memories of yesteryear. So you can ask me anything, I will deny it. What is memory? I have no idea how this film got made. I try. So if you can provoke me, maybe you find some truth in my memories. But there's still memories, as I said, memories are unfaithful friend. So ask it.
Well, I think the first thing I've got to ask is, this film, it draws on so many complex emotions. It draws on love, it draws on guilt, it draws on the idea of innocence, both attained and lost. Where did the story come from? How did you first think of it?
I have no idea. Listen, I was a chartered accountant who came back to from London and came to India and decided to make a film. I had no experience. I never went to film school. I never read a film on a book on filmmaking. I never assisted anybody, and I just got up in my arrogance at that time. I can only say it was arrogance. I'm going to make a movie. And so I might get sued for what I say. I found a producer. I was going to make a film. The producer said, okay, let's go to this builder who has a lot of money. We'll tell him to make the film. I started to narrate that story. As I was narrating that story, I saw a big yawn. And in that yawn, I saw the deaths of a career that ever started. So I thought, oh my God, I have to do something. So I started to tell a different story. Just a different story. And the producer is kicking me under the table, and that was Masoom. Why? Because I suddenly saw behind him lots of portraits of kids. And I said, maybe you could also make a film about kids. So I shifted from that to that. So now when you ask me, so what was the great thing about your experience of your life? And of course it went there, but that's not how it started. It didn't start with, I got to make a film about my experience of life. Then that's. I was talking to some of the filmmakers the other day, and I said there's something between us and an event. In India, we call it karma. You call it destiny. I call it it. Because it could be anything. It could be faith. It could be anything. So it was a relationship with it that created this film. Now, in retrospect, I can say anything. You know what? There's a little story about Satyajit Ray, and there was one of his films where it was a shot in a car from a rear view mirror that was cracked. And reams are written about the meaning of that cracked mirror, because he said, let's talk to Mr. Ray himself. And he said, oh, that crack, that I did because otherwise I could see the camera in it. What? As we all do, as filmmakers, and things we want to be perceived as really, really deep people. I think we all have that. It's tested when you're faced with panic. That panic, when it hits you, it forces you to look inside into your subconscious, and it starts to bubble up. Something must have bubbled up. What else can I say? Can I say that I don't know. The kids in the film, they were in the same school uniform that I used to wear. I had two nieces who used to hate, and these are vegetables, you can't do your buying it. These are vegetables, I ate it. Yeah. So I turned them. So, you have to ask me something deeper. So I discover myself, otherwise I'm going to talk like this. So unless you can force me to start discovering myself, and in that moment you can discover yourself, we can discover why we have art in this world. That's what it's about, right? Right. Nobody's saying no, so it must be right.
You spoke about the kids. How much of the acting was improvisation? How much was it? How easy or difficult was it to get those performances?
The great thing about kids is they perform. You have to know, they do their own thing. And I did know with Julian Scratch, the kid, the boy, he hated being touched by girls. I couldn't do any scene. If the girls touched him, he would scream, he would move away. So I let them do their own thing. It was so easy. And they did their own thing. And I followed them with my camera. So when somebody just asked me, what was this thing called Chintu Mama? Well, then a kid called him Chintu Mama. So it's in the film. Chintu Mama was an improvisation that was from Shaban. So as I said, it works. What's that it that suddenly shows itself? And if you have the humility, if you have the trust in that thing called it, you will start discovering yourself. And then you act on the act of your self-discovery. And if you act on it, then you create something and you call it art. That's all that happens in all of everybody's life. And for us to say a lot of things about ourselves, deep things, are all like Satyajit Ray's crap mirror. Right? Now you're flowing. She's having a net moment.
I am having a net moment because I do want to go deeper, but there's also something. Great. Okay. Can we talk about the transformation of the character played by Shabana Azmi? How she goes from a feeling of deep resentment. She has multiple moments of realization of, for instance, when she's gifted that jewelry box. You kind of see her on the cusp. You see her on the cusp where it feels as though she's just going to just about forgive the child, forgive Rahul, and embrace him. And yet then something pulls her back because she's torn between the natural human tendency to resent someone who you feel betrayed by, and the tendency to be drawn towards this child. How do you get such a nuanced reflection of humanity on screen?
I was sitting outside and a friend of mine said, "Oh, that scene's going on." I said, "So it must be 10 minutes left in the film." And he said, "Why do you say that?" I said, "Because the plot's ended." That's true, right? She's seen that, you can already see that she's shifted. Everything from there to the end of the film is something that the film is creating to keep you going. So I thought the film ended, so I got ready to come in 10 minutes, and still there was about an hour to go. So now you ask me, what you really ask me, how did you feel that hour? I felt that hour with Shawanda's performance. I felt that hour with being a little clever. I think, again, memory is not a good friend. Must have felt it was something. Still went on for an hour, and all of you are still sitting here, so something must have happened. Honestly, I'm trying to be as honest as possible without saying, "Oh, I understand women deeply." Don't. I don't understand myself deeply. I don't. I think if I understood myself deeply, I'd stop making films or doing anything really. So, yeah, I kept thinking of things, writing them in and shooting them. The one thing I'll say is for all of you filmmakers that are trying to make films in the current atmosphere, my first film, as I said, nobody asked me what story I'm making. Nobody told me what to do. Nobody interfered, nobody. But today, as I was talking to all my filmmaker friends here, they said if you go to an OTT platform or something, there's like 5 executives sitting there asking questions. And I said, "What questions?" They said, "They're asking you about this plot and what. They said all kinds of notes. I had no notes. I was lucky. It was working for me, IT. It was working for me. I cannot remember. I was talking to Shamana the other day. "Did you ever question anything?" She said, "No." "Did you have lots of doubts?" She said, "All the time, but I never questioned you." No, it didn't. And maybe if somebody questioned me, this film would not have lasted 40 years. I don't know why it does. It's embarrassing sometimes. But it had that. So it just got filled. It just, how do you explain things when you say it just happened? Yeah, does that make sense to anybody? It just happened. Life just happens. Art just happens. Paintings happen. Poems happen. Bob Dylan said, "My best lyrics are written as fast as my pen could write." So did he think about it and said, "What does that line mean?" No. The only thing I can say is creativity is accessed. It's not here. It's somewhere else in the universe. And if you're humble enough, and if you panicked enough, and desperate enough, and humble enough, you go out of yourself, and you start accessing that creativity, and you download it. And then if you have a sense of action at that time, and humility stays, you download it. And then it becomes a film for a classic. I think, how many of you do classical music? You notice that the classical musicians, they practice the same rag all their lives. Why? Doesn't it feel like a waste of time? But they will go on practicing. The reason they're doing that is because they're becoming one in the rag. The rag and them become one, and they're waiting for the time where they don't have to remember a thing, where they have left themselves. And in the universe, the rag exists, and they exist in the universe. So for me, I was existing in the universe. But then people said, "Make another Masoom." How do I exist in the universe again by copying anything else? I can't do that. And I'm always burned into this question. I can't do that. Well, I'll try, but I'll fail if I try and do that.
I think that's the reason why it's lasted so long, and that's the reason why it's resonated, because it is something that's organic and that feels true and authentic, and it still feels as relevant as it did, 20, 30, 40 years ago. I'm wondering if we should go to questions to the audience, if they have questions specific to the film, because I also want to ask you about Indian cinema in general and some of your other films, since we've got the opportunity to have you here. If I had my way, I would have screened also Mr. India, which is another favorite. So I do have to ask you about Mugi How Go. But if you've got any audience questions about Masoom, if someone would like to start now.
Go ahead. You raised your hand first.
I have the very non-deep question. Not
No, don't be deep.
ask who would you cast if the film was made in 2025?
I don't know. I would have to find kids that look like kids and act like kids. I would have to cast. I mean, there's so many new actors. That's one of the things that every director here that's come to this festival has found new actors to work with, and I'm stunned by the performances. When I made Masoom, there was one way to make films. You could not make a commercial film without the heroes being in love with his mother. Still, we had a mother complex, and every film the hero had to have a mother. And then if you try to make a film with a commercial film, the producer would say, "The hero ki maa hai." We do so, but there are now tangum. There's no one person. The India is full of amazing actors, amazing people who don't like their own lives and who would love to live other people's lives. They're very good at acting and really well. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Do you think that the film is relevant today because we still struggle with the idea of perfection? And when we are forced to see our humanity, we don't like it because it doesn't fit into the box that we have created, because maybe we don't realize that what they is us isn't really our true nature. And so these films will constantly touch us because we're still trying to figure out who we really are.
I couldn't hear everything you said, but I'm assuming your question is it relevant because we're struggling with ourselves all the time?
Yes. That
Yeah.
we don't know who really.
I think art is schizophrenia. It's a very schizophrenic process. I'm living another story. If I did come back and then live that story all my life, I'd be schizophrenic. Right? So it is. We are pushing. That's why all of us go mad. I mean, if you know me here, I'm sounding reasonable. If you really knew me, you would say he's the most unreasonable, incoherent person I've ever met. Because we keep pushing ourselves into schizophrenia to live another story. Or a painter pushes himself into schizophrenia and paints something and then has to retreat. And in that schizophrenic moment, you're probably discovering your real self. But your real self, you've been trained so hard to find and said that your real self is not your real self. Somewhere your real self lies in your schizophrenic self. But then you're not normal. So you have to live outside what you call normal. Then you're mad, right? So you go into madness and come back and stuff. So I don't recommend it.
Well, I guess my new standard is normal.
Yeah. Van Gogh painted Starry Nights. The physician, he's painted it when he was in an asylum. And the physicians came and said that he resolved the true nature of the universe in that painting. How do you do that? How did somebody who's so-called insane, in an insane asylum, who's looking out of a window of that, and he paints in Starry Nights? You look at it, just go and Google and see the physics of Starry Nights. And he's painted the true nature of the universe. So does art understand far more about our true selves than science does? I'm not saying metaphysics. I'm not saying anything. But the exploration of art, is that the true idea of who we are? Maybe. Maybe it is. I hope it is. But yes, art from the audience. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely, yes.
Hi, my name is Kinda, and thank you so much. I wanted there for this book to me word by word, and I wanted to watch it in the cinema, and so I got a chance. Thank you so much for coming here. I wish I could have watched with her, but she's not here in Berlin. But thank you, first of all. My question would be, how to the filmmakers from today, because I'm studying again, how do you preserve the simplicity in a world that's full of so much noise and things going on all the time around us, and so many new forms of media, they can just constantly changing all around. What advice would you give to just preserve the simplicity of emotions like sometimes that?
So your question is a much wider one than this. No, I'm saying that how in this world of such complexity and social media, how do you stay simple, right? I'm going to answer it in a very simple way, but it's the truth. It's by being simple. It's no other way. There's no other way. Is by finding your own simplicity and not getting caught up to the complexity. You will never not get off in the complexity. I get up every morning, and that's the first thing. I'm in a panic because I'm suddenly having to wake up and handle the complexities of life, and then I just sit there. And it's not meditating. It's finding the simplicity of who I am, or what there is. Is there God? Maybe not. Is there a universe? Maybe not. Maybe not. And then suddenly you find that those questions are making it so complex where you suddenly fade away in face of a huge question. Who am I? Who am I? And then you start there. Who am I? Who am I? Am I this? No, am I this? Am I universal? I look at the tree and I say, hang on. The leaf is responding to the breeze. It's talking to the breeze. The leaf knows who he is or who she is, and I don't. So I face myself with these questions on anxiety, calm down, and then I find the simplicity. The simplicity lays in rising above the complexity, because above the complexities is complexity beyond which there is simplicity. Isn't that what we're all looking for? So try it every morning. I try it. But by the end of the day, I'm a mess. There again, I start in the morning. It's not easy. And that's how we are. That's how we are. Sorry, yes. Anyway, okay, this is getting too deep. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Hi, my name is Noah, and I'm from Pakistan, and my decision for what they were influenced by my parents because this was directed more than a decade before I was born. So when I told them the festival is happening, my mother was like, after it, and we like, that is Queen, and it is good, and then I must come and watch this. And then it turns out that this movie is the source of one of the songs that my mom made me listen to while I was growing up.
Luckily, he got you, right?
I said,
Because you wouldn't eat your breakfast.
and honestly, because I had a rocking horse, so my mom thought it was apt. My question is about casting. What made you think that the series being Shah and Shwana being are perfect for these characters?
Well, it's easy. Shavana and I were great friends at that time, so it was easy, and she was is an amazing actor. And the scene was a tougher choice because everybody said, there's all these very harsh films, and he's never played this very simple character. And I went to meet him, and he said, so Shekhar, what's the character? I said, the character just is. And he's you. That's it. That's all I ever said to him, ever. And he got it. And I know what he decided. Because he went and he made friends with my father. He wore my clothes, tried to understand how I speak. So he said, if the director is saying it's you, and then if I think the director is him, I might as well be him. So casting is intuitive. Unless you take a star, then you just cast a star. But otherwise, it's a very intuitive process. It's very intuitive. You know in your head at one point, and you don't discover the actor until you actually met the actor. Then you know it's right or wrong, or how you relate. Because somewhere you allow the relationship to go out of your mind into your heart. That's art, is the heart art, So the moment it gets into your heart, then you know you're right. Because the heart always looks. The mind is, yes or no, am I right, am I not right? The heart is like, simple. Go for it. Go for it. Okay? Yeah, back there. I have to take one question, go back. You'll have to shout.
Yeah, I hope this loud now. I was born when the movie came out either, but I'm just really
Don't look I am, but go on.
that
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
creatures in a movie and you the question what is a family and a family unit, the family dynamic to start in. When you were making the movie, was the aim to capture a particular moment in time in its idea, right? This is the evolution you saw happening. You thought what a family would look like, or was it perhaps more aspirational in sense this is the direction that you'd like to see the concept of family account, family involved in a certain sense?
I think I'm going to answer your question. It's not the right answer. Or you may not agree with the answer. That's a different thing. But I never asked. As far as I can remember, but I said memory is not a true friend. I just did it. Allowed it to happen. You have no idea how important that phrase is. Keep saying this to you. Art, when you allow it to happen, it moves from the mind to the heart. And the heart is a reservoir of creativity. Huge, huge. So when I asked these questions, I said, I allowed the film to happen as far as I remember. I didn't direct. I allowed it to be created. And it really is. The allowing of creativity is a huge part of our stuff, of art for me, of anything that I've ever done. Because I learned from my first film that one thing I did learn. If I didn't know anything, I allowed it to dominate me. That's it. Listen, it's no other rules at all. And I'm sorry I couldn't stand here like a Hollywood director and give you rules. There aren't any. And none. There are none. The moment you think there are rules, that you're not being true. What's the rule of the art? Tell me so. I can tell you rules of the mind. The rule of the art, no, I can't. Somebody at the back there?
There are movies like that you need to yourself, maybe in your 20s, problem in sexually. Is there any advice that you would give to yourself when you were in your 20s to be a man?
Would I give any advice to myself when I was 20? I would have said, stop doubting yourself so much, Shekhar. Because you're taught to do that. You're taught to be good. You're taught to be right. You're taught to succeed. You're taught to do everything in society. It's much later that I realized that that's not the novel's behavior. There is another normalcy, that the normalcy of who I am, who my heart is. So advice would be, go do more. Don't just sit there with people imposing doubt upon you, or you yourself imposing doubt upon yourself.
So in the whole process, do you prioritize yourself as person? No. Do you prioritize yourself as a person as part of this process?
I don't prioritize anything. I wish I did. I don't have a schedule. She'll tell you. She had a tough time getting me here. Now I'm here. She's having a tough time sending me back. So I actually never ever
Keep your hair.
No, it's it.
It's it.
It's like, how do I prioritize? How do you prioritize? You didn't prioritize when you were born. You didn't prioritize when you fell in love. You didn't prioritize when your girlfriend walked out with somebody else. You're not going to prioritize your death. Tell me, what in your life has ever been able to prioritize, except in the morning you get excited and prioritize that, and that never happens. So what is it that you're prioritizing? These are the impositions of a society that was in... I'm going to stop it. That wants to enslave you through prioritization. That sounded good, didn't it? I'm going to sing. Okay. You have to pick up back.
Hello, staff. My name is Parag Agtab. Thank you for coming here. Thank you, Prasad and ICST for organizing this big festival. When I was a kid, this song, it was very favorite of me and very close to me. I've got so many nostalgia that tears they out of my eyes when I was listening to that song. So do you have any of your memory while you were creating the song? Because we were kids, and all the other child actors were kids, and it is very difficult to handle for anyone to have a child actors in the sets. So do you have any memory related to that song which you told?
I think your question is, how did you handle this and how did you handle that? My answer is so simple. I didn't. That's the question, right? How do you handle kids? I did. How did you handle the camera? I didn't. Honestly, this is absolutely... I go back. Because then Bob Dylan said it, I said, oh man, he said it, so the world will agree. My best lyrics were written as fast and right. So what was he handling? What? Nothing. There's nothing. If you're a filmmaker, go make a movie. That's it. That's all I can say. If you're not going to make a movie, you're not going to think it. Oh, my frame should be that. Your frame will dominate you. If you randomly pick and click something, something is working. Randomness is working, uncertainty is working. But now if you've got a camera, I say, oh man, that doesn't work. If I move it right, left, right, this way, that way, you're killing it. Killing it not in the way, oh, it's killed it, that's bad. So, yeah, randomness. Believe in it. Believe in uncertainty. Believe in randomness. And allow a film to be made. That's me. Somebody at the back there. See.
Hello?
So,
How long did it take for you to design the movie?
I think a lot about design. Because I used to be ordered once when I was, I wanted to be an architect. So design is a huge thing. But design, you see that thing that people forget about design. Design is a story. It's not just a design. If the design doesn't tell you a story, it's not a design. They're only creating nothing. So if you watch Elizabeth, I don't know if you see that, you watch, the film is full of huge architecture in which she exists. Huge. And it dominates her. The truth is that if they lived in those huge palaces that are shown, they would have all died of pneumonia. It didn't do that. I just said, no, the design is more important. Architecture dominates because it lasts, it's more not organic, it's inorganic, it goes on. What they used was wood, and I said, wood is also inorganic like us. I use stone. Stone was there, in the end, she dominates the architecture. So that became the design. The design is a story you tell yourself. So how long? Well, once you've told the story to design, it's fine. But I think in Masoom, the design, I didn't know that I was supposed to do all that. The design emerged. The design emerged from the story and all, and so that it was fun, I think. So if you see another Michael, the design is a little more thought of. Yeah?
And there's a couple of
Yeah.
side as well.
Yes.
Maybe you've had your hand up for a while.
Kind of stuff got a lovely movie, and I was actually Tati's best song, but then my daughter, she became the worst, and she remembers those and like the hunt with happy singing as a lullaby. That's the only lullaby I ever did. And Konankur and I are Achilles, so we really, really respect art. In this movie, the brilliance of this film is that it starts with a family, with a family of four, and it ends with a family with a family of five. And in between, they're having so many emotions, so many relations, disconnects, identity crisis, being cheated, so many things, and you're covering so well. And I read a few days back, your interview, there you mentioned about the water bottle and how it's not he water bottle, but he's crying. He wants the sun back, and he wants to see it one more time. So how was it intentional that you collected materialistic things from your emotions, or was it intentional, or did it just happen?
It's the first time noticing that I started with a picture of forest and ended with a family of five. I've never really noticed that before. I just saw the film. So, it just comes out. Doesn't mean that. Honestly, in fact, I didn't notice it. I never thought about it. So it is working. We believe in this, that we do things. We don't realize between our doing and the done, there's a whole universe. And we forget that universe. And all the news, I don't know, you said your husband is a techie.
Yeah.
So think about it. He must know about time. Does time really exist? What happened before the Big Bang? Where was time before the Big Bang? And how do we perceive time except in our imagination? Why does every filmmaker expand time? When Romeo meets Juliet, suddenly we go into slow motion. All he's doing is expanding time. Time is a relative idea. And that relative idea is controlled by nature. I take this glass, right, and I put it here. Did I do that? Because if there's no time difference, then it was already here and there. So who am I in this process? Right? So it's a lovely concept that way. So, yeah, ask your husband to think about time in the world out chat. Okay. Sorry, I'm not answering questions to do with this film. I'm trying to expand it. Yes.
Hi, friend. I know you've been answering there a lot of the reasons behind this film were hits,
but could you share something with us about the songs of the film? How she does look at the songs, the situation on the lyrics, because I'm very fond of the songs. And
So, when you asked me this question, remember, I'd never made a film before. I was a chartered accountant. Just think about that. And I decided to make a film. And I just happened to talk to Gulzar and R.D. Burman, who were an outstanding team. I'll tell you, Lakri Kati, yeah, I said, look, why don't we just pick up a nursery rhyme and do that to Gulzar? And I wrote a nursery rhyme, gave it to him, and he looked at me and said, look, is this guy? Right? I'm Gulzar. Excuse me. Here's the thing that no one knows. I'll tell you. I went down. I got seriously ill. I was hospitalized. And luckily, Kati was made of form, and with RD and Gulzar laughing at the fact that I'm almost dying, and then made a song and made me laugh all the time. That's how luckily Kati came up. Now, when I talk about these things, it's so obvious. Things happen. It works. That's how luckily Kati came up. Yeah, let's have a nursery rhyme kind of song with her was an idea. Nothing before after that. I hated when I first heard it. But then now, of course, I have to say I love it because it's so popular. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So weird, but
hello, Shikhaji. Namaste.
those.
Thank you so much for this lovely classic must watch and multiple guides. I'm an author and storyteller myself. So we can do everything material and treat me a lot. And in the story, there is something, everything is positive investment. There is something that hit me in a little bit negative way. I would like to, get your opinion and get your thoughts on that. So at one point, there's a question that, I want a son. Everybody should have a son. That is something. And then I want to ask you that when you were making this character Kapur, did you imagine that this could be a girl and well? I mean, how you parents the idea came up finally settled on the idea of this third child, the child you're bringing the film as a male, a boy, and not a girl.
Well, it was a boy because sorry, I'll just try to answer your question about that one. It was a boy because at that time, there was a big thing about women going around, even middle-class families. He beta on it, even now. If beta nahi hai, then you're not doing, the woman is to blame. If it's all girls, they already had 2 daughters. So the fact that it was a boy, so if you notice in the film, Shabana's always wondering that there is a slight thing that, do I have to feel guilty about the fact that this other woman, the child was a boy? So it does, there's a layer on that goes on. But that's not in Nasir's mind. So the girl, that would not have happened.
Yeah, so that was my reflection of that, so kindly.
Yeah, it's a reflection. That society with that, probably that society still exists.
Yeah.
Still does. People still have affairs. Kids are still going. No, that I take that point. That's why I decided that point is that. Oh, I was right then. Okay, sorry. Any others? I do have to close this. Yes.
Kapur, thank you so much for this film and for coming here today this Q&A. Really, all of the perspectives that I'm listening, I've seen this movie before, and this time it was again a new perspective coming in. And so yeah, that shows how brilliant this movie is and how you've made it. So my question is about the character of Shabana Azmi's friend Ratna. Ratna or Chanda. Yeah, so Chanda is shown to be this feminist in the beginning of the movie, that she can live without a husband, she's so happy and all that. And all of those thoughts influence Shabana Azmi's character. And then finally, I think the husband comes back into her life, and her thought process changes again. And she says that माँ के सामने औरत हार जाती है. And
what about that?
when Shabana Azmi, when Shabana Azmi's character hears that, and she changes the thought process.
When I heard it, I cringed. But the reason for that is because Shabana's character is getting like, okay, so this can happen, I can divorce. So best friend, as she say, and then suddenly at the end, when you feel that she's got to make a decision, right, that Tanuja's character wasn't mean that at all. So she is now into mind, because it must have occurred to Shabana that I can do it, we can break this marriage, and it can work. So these are influences in her life.
Yeah. What do you think would have been her life like if that character wasn't in her life? Like if she wasn't.
Maybe, yeah, I would know. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe. Maybe if Nasir hadn't gone on that trap, nothing would happen. Good name straight up. How long do we have?
I think maybe we can do one final question.
One final question. I promise not to make it. If anybody wants to talk philosophy, I'd love to talk about philosophy. We'll do it outside. Or, yeah, it could be philosophical. Who knows? Yes.
Thank you for the summary. It's definitely a classic movie as till today if we are feeling relatable and resurrecting with it. And you've already answered that question because you try to make it simple and human. Sir, my question to you would be, if in today's time you had to remake this movie or re-narrate, how different would it be or how would you narrate it? Thank you.
Somebody asked me that question and I say, well, it would be completely different because I'm not the same person. I have no idea who I was at that time. We started with that. Do we have any one of us have an idea who we were a week ago? No, we don't. We have assumptions about ourselves. How would I have gone to that party and responded to that other person in that party differently a week ago if I had to do it again? You can't even answer that question. How are you going to answer a question, well, if I made this movie again, how would I do it? You can't. You can't. If art is of the present, of the real, it's not a copycat. It's not copying of the past because the past doesn't exist. And it only exists as a prejudiced memory. So how can you copy a prejudiced memory? Like you can't. Right? So just go make something new. Climb any mountain. Otherwise you climb a mountain that you already climbed it, you say, I already did this, now why am I doing it again? And then you try to climb it the other way, and the other way you don't find the footholds, you fall and you die. But you do it because you might die. Why else do you do any art unless you could die? Metaphorically. That's why we do things, right? The fear of death drives us, metaphorically. Right? So what's the fear of death? I'm copying from, I'll probably fail, I'll probably die again. See, I turned that into philosophy. I'm so sorry. Okay, guys. Yes. Allah, it is short.
Sir, sorry. So I would like to ask that, what's your favorite scene of this movie and why? You can post in yours.
No, I can tell you because everybody talks to me about it. So I can't say. I didn't sit. I was sitting outside having a drink while you were watching the movie, poor guys. But my favorite scene is that everybody talks about it. Is when the kid comes and Rahul has an injury in his finger, and he advantage says, "Ma dekho kya," and she tells us that "Tumhari maa nahi." Everybody talks about the scene, so it has to be out there. That moment, it's no dialogue, nothing. It's just a moment. So, my favorite moment in the film. Hey, thank you for coming. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for giving audience. I will miss them if you are. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you for supporting the Indian Film Festival. Thank you, Shekhar.
Thank you.